Oh, damn, that was quick. What is happening, everybody? I hope everybody's having a fantastic Tuesday. Yeah, something I'll hear too often is, happy Tuesday or fantastic Tuesday. It doesn't really work like that. It's typically the day of the week where everything starts to slide into shit. Anyway, hope everybody's having a fantastic start to your week. So far, this week's been pretty interesting getting up and rolling, but I will say this weekend I was able to spend a little bit of time at the Legion of Demons, which took place literally right down the street from where I live. So how can you not swing by and check it out? I got to tell you guys, there were some pretty sweet cars there, provided that you like demons. There was one Trackhawk running around and one Red Eye. So Ford Tech, what is this shit? Boo. Get the fuck out of here with that. Sloan, thumbs up. What's up, Sloan? No, I'm just messing with you, Ford, man. Hey, yeah, hopefully here pretty soon we'll be hearing something new from Ford on that GT500. Speaking of which, I'm starting to get, speaking of that GT500, I've been having some conversations with some friends of mine, and, a lot of them are really leaning heavily towards that GT500. And it makes sense, too, especially when you consider how many of us Mopar guys come to Mopar from Ford, and a lot of us have been waiting on that GT500 to make it to the party. I got to tell you, man, a lot of folks, they want to give that DSG, DCG, alphabet soup transmission. They want to give that thing a shot, and I'm hoping that thing's durable, because it would suck if that thing didn't hold any power. But let's see who we got in, y'all. Mike's checking in. Well, what's up, B? Speed Maniac. Damn it out at HMP. Still no track time for me. Man, that's brutal. We got to get you some track times, man. Michael Smith asking, wouldn't it be better to buy a GT350 and slap a supercharger on it? No. Main reason for that, been hearing some issues with GT350s with superchargers and their crankshafts. I know a lot of people also won't do it because they don't want to jack up the integrity of the GT350. If you're going to put a supercharger on anything, just get a Coyote, put the supercharger on the Coyote, get the automatic if you want to go run around on the drag strip, and call it good, because that will handle anything pretty much you can throw at it, provided you don't get too crazy with it. Let's see. Fortec, the big thing, will there be a manual transmission? I'll tell you what, I would become a whole lot more interested in that car if it followed the recipe. With car guys, it's kind of funny. No matter what tribe you subscribe to, we're all pretty much the same in one respect. You either get a manual transmission or you get an automatic transmission. Automatic guys gravitate towards drag racing. Manual guys gravitate more towards street driving and, just general playing around with the car on the street for the most part. So, but when you start to combine the two, a lot of us car guys, we look at it, that's kind of a compromise. It almost takes the worst of both worlds, so at any rate, but I'm right there with you. I'd like to see that. Let's see. Four-door Mopar. Ask, what up, B? What cam do you recommend for a Forge ProCharge 392? Custom grind every time. And you're going to want to go heavy on the exhaust duration if you're planning on running 93 octane. Glenn Myers, evening, Mopar Guru. Thanks for checking in, Glenn. Vince, thank you very much. Appreciate that, my brother, very much. Says, man, all the Mopar monsters on tonight. Sub Beat, sub Vince, thank you very much for the contribution. Yeah, so we got a little bit of everybody chiming in today. I had Herman on in the background while I was getting ready for, mine, which basically means me rolling the chair over and getting the phone set up to start videotaping. But, yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on, especially with the Legion of Demons thing last weekend. We can definitely chat about that. I saw some really cool stuff there, namely the Red Eye. A guy had his Red Eye out there, went 1037 at about 131, 133, somewhere in between there, and was running on a set of Mickey Thompson ET Street SS's. So it can definitely be done. The car looked the part, car scooted too. So, you know, that red eye is definitely no joke. Most of the demons were running in the, you know, 990 range. Those that were on the stock Nittos, I know that Ray went a 978 with his stock Nittos. I know that because I was crewing for Ray, so very stoked about that. And you know, I got to tell you, it was a lot of fun to see the cars in action. But what was spooky though was just the number of failures that were taking place. And what I mean by failures were rear diffs failing and drive shafts failing and half shafts. Well, actually, one drive shaft, one half shaft. The rest were differentials with one transmission thrown in there. And you know, over the course of a weekend, that's a significant percentage of the cars that were on track. Figure just shy of 50 cars and you had 9 failures. That's about a 20% failure rate. Now that is split up between stock and modified, but still stock and modified split up that failure rate pretty much right down the middle. So at any rate, that'll kind of give you an idea how that weekend was going. But I had a blast. It was great to see the cars on track doing their thing. And God, it made me itch to be out there with mine too. So let's see. Oh, Fortech saying that auto costs a lot more. Probably talking about that DSG style transmission. Yeah, that thing's ridiculous. Let's see. One and only SB340. What's up, Boss B Mason? What's up, one and only? Said, been 2 lives I've missed. Well, come on in. Glad to have you here. Lester Matthews saying, what up, B? What up, Lester? Speed Maniac saying that 10-speed automatic ain't no joke, and Chevy is getting boring. Shitty designs on their trucks and cars. Man, I'll tell you something. I'm kind of bummed out with Chevrolet right now. You kind of get the impression that they're kind of phoning it in a little bit. Oh, man, and that stings because to me, growing up as a kid, the 2 brands that meant drag racing were Chevrolet and Mopar. You know, pick your Mopar with a smattering of Ford here and there. And when you see the Chevys just not doing as well and really not putting anything out worth getting excited about, it kind of drags me down. And no, I'm not talking about Corvette. Corvette is its own brand that does its own thing. I would never rope Corvette into that Chevy umbrella. To me, and this is just the way I've always felt, is that Corvette kind of hung out there on their own. But I think you're right. A whole lot of not excitement coming from that the Bowtie Brigade right now. Let's see. What is that? Trans-Simmon Net 2, whatever it be. I found a 2015 Challenger Hellcat, 6-speed, 65,000 miles, 37 grand, 1 owner. Good deal. Well, it depends on how well that 1 owner took care of their car. You know, the problem that you have is if you've got full documentation on the car, if you know the guy personally, if you were around him before he or she wanted to sell the car, that's when I think it's okay to buy one with a manual transmission. The automatics are pretty much bulletproof. Manuals, it could be a good deal. You know, at $37,000, earthquake looks like he's trying to get rid of it. So buyer beware, brother. That's all I can say on that one. If you're into the manual cars, it's a decent enough deal to where man, I don't know, 65,000 miles. You know what? That's market value for the car. The 6-speed manuals do not carry near the premium that the automatics do. And I would definitely not say don't buy it. But again, give the car a solid once over. She's going to need a lot of maintenance coming into this if she hasn't already had it. So keep that in the back of your mind as well. The Sloan, how quick did Herman run? Herman will let you know how quick Herman ran. I'm not going to let the cat out of the bag, but he didn't do bad at all. We were fighting a headwind like no other. In fact, I had a tree fall on my house, so I couldn't make it out on Saturday. I was too busy running a chainsaw, cutting down about a 40-foot tall elm tree. I'm sorry, maple tree off of my roof. But I kicked that tree's ass. And then I called in some reinforcements. It was one of those trees that like grows up out of like one trunk, has three. Anyway, I called in some reinforcements. They brought over some power equipment and turned that sucker into mulch today. So, yeah, game over. Let's see. Cotton Merckx, thoughts on the new Supra? Freaking love that car. So, you know, the new Supra, the only downside to it, you know, a lot of people say, well, it's not a Toyota-derived engine or anything like that. Look, let me tell you something. Little BMW inline-six turbos have been impressing the hell out of me for a long time. And yeah, a lot of people are going to say it's nothing more than a Z4. Look, I get it, whatever. But the fact of the matter is with, you know, a little bit of tuning, not too many mods, that thing is going to scream. Now, will it ever achieve legendary status? Probably not. I just don't see that happening. But I've been wrong about these types of things before. And once the hardcore guys start getting their hands on that engine, we'll see how much nitrous it'll take. We'll see what turbo upgrades are already available for it. Obviously, the tuning is there. And let's be honest, guys, these BMW inline-six turbo engines, I swear to you, are underrated. Either that or German horses are just a lot bigger than normal horses. Because if you've ever ridden in one of those cars before, it will surprise you how fast the sedan is. So I can only imagine the Supra is going to be that much quicker in practice. Let's see. Preston is asking, did you ever end up testing the AEM dry filter? No, I threw it in the trash, as a matter of fact. And he's asking, would that be an upgrade over the stock 392 filter? No, it wouldn't. Get you a Hellcat air filter. Let's see. Natalie Dayton saying, Mark killed it with the 970 in his Demon. Yes, he did. Ford's asking, did you see Paul K's new red eye? I don't know, what color is it. I've seen a bunch of new red eyes, and I get everybody mixed up, and I know people buy their cars. I rarely know them off of me. Let's see, one and only SB340. You see all the Demons running 9 lately. Yep. We have got 11 in the last 2 weeks, 4 in the last 2 nights, counting that Demon thing going on. A red eye ran 1047 on stock tires. I have seen the red eye running. The only red eye I've seen in person was running on drag radials. It went 1037. That thing was screaming. I wouldn't doubt if the red eye is able to run deep into the 10s like that on the stock tires, especially with the summer tires. Let's see. Al's Dream. What's up, Al? Saying, hi, B. It's snowing and icing here in Michigan, and my Hellcat has the scoops where they can go inside the engine bay. Will it hurt or be bad for my car? No, it won't hurt anything. It'll just leave a mess once everything thaws out. So now they took all that into account. In fact, you've got a cover over your ABS module where the SRTs don't and SCATs don't. Mark broke his output shaft. Oh, is that the one that... Yeah, that made a mess, man. Natalie Deaton saying, yeah, Mark broke his output shaft. Yeah, that was brutal. Toby Ramasinju saying, hey, Brian, seems Houston Internet is more cooperative now. Yeah, that's nice. Let's see. Got some stuff going on that I can't pronounce. Let's see. Jay Palm saying, Al's Dream, hopefully it's rain coming here in Metro Detroit. Yeah, hopefully you guys don't get any snow. That sucks. Ford Tech saying, I won't even look at Chevy. Man, I'll tell you something. I would love to look at Chevrolet. The problem is they don't give me anything worth looking at. And that's what kills me. You know, they have had in the past some pretty cool stuff. And, you know, I get it. The market is always going to trend more towards your normal person, not car guy or gal, audience. But the reality is that at least with Mopar, you've got some cars in there that get you excited. With Ford, you got some cool stuff that's out there that will get you excited. And again, with Chevrolet, you don't really seem to get that. Let's see. Speed Maniac. I was always a shit guy growing up too. Man, Love me some Chevys growing up. I don't know. Here lately, it's not that great. Vince checking in with, yeah, Mopar group on Facebook talking about all the failing differentials. Yep. Seems to be a common occurrence. Diff brace, the end-all solution, or beefier parts. Man, I don't know. You know, I think it might have been, there were some people talking about that. Now, I don't know if there was a consensus whether or not the diff brace was helping or hurting. And here's my argument with that. If you have a diff brace on the car, the diff brace is not going to make the differential break, or it's not going to hurt the diff. At least not in a way that I can tell. And if you've got a diff brace on the car, chances are you've got the diff brace on the car because you're taking your car to the drag strip more often. So when you look at it from that perspective, it's like, which came first, you know, chicken or the egg type thing. But you also have cars breaking without diff braces and with diff braces. So, you know, there's a lot of cars with diff braces that weren't breaking, a lot of cars without that weren't breaking too. I think it's just luck of the draw. The other thing is how you're launching it too. I noticed that I think most of the ones that broke were launching with the, well, basically they were launching with the two-step, basically, from what I could tell. Let's see. Fortec LS. What? No, ever heard of it? The problem with LS is that they work, and they work great. Let's see. Chris Duvall is asking, how's it going, man? How's it going, Chris? Got a question. Would getting my throttle body ported through Fastman be worth it without a tune on a 17 Challenger 5.7? Certainly won't hurt anything. Like I say, I'm a big fan of Fastman throttle bodies, and you know, they're not paying me to talk about them. Believe me, it'd be great if I was getting. But anyway, no, seriously, it's a good upgrade. You get better throttle response, a little bit better torque down low, a little bit better mid range. It's tough to drag horsepower out of these cars, mainly because of the shape and the design of the intake manifolds. But that being said, the throttle body definitely does help. So give them a shout. I recommend them, and I like them. So, and the reason why Revlon doesn't have one is because we are going for the record. And if I'm going for the record on a stock Hellcat, I can't have any porting on the throttle body. So, but once we secure that record, then things might change a little bit. Vince saying 1415 Z28 was one of the last Camaros I was ever interested in. Yeah, me too. Until they cost $72,000. It's like taking a knife and shoving it in my ribs. Let's see. Let's see. Speed Maniac. Wouldn't surprise me if we started seeing Demons running a super glass class, being it's a 990 index. Man, I'll tell you something. Only during the winter, only when we've got good DAs and a really good track prep. I got to tell you, it's impressive to see the cars doing what they were designed to do. The only thing that I'll throw out there is, and it's really not shade, it's just one of these things where, look, we had unbelievable DA. Yeah, we had a nasty headwind, but the cars were getting as close as you can get to that 965 number based on driver weight, track prep, and environmental conditions. The car will absolutely run that number, provided that the driver is light enough and the DA is low enough and you don't have a headwind. The car will absolutely run that number. But I don't know. It would be tough to call it an index car because it would only really cover that number in a specific set of circumstances. Let's see. Gorgeous Cat 392. 65,000 miles on a Hellcat is probably like 100,000. You never know how the person took care of the car. That's true, but I can tell you this, that the Hellcat is a very robust car, and I've seen them with 65, 75, 85,000 miles on them, and the cars ran great. There was absolutely nothing wrong with them, but these people daily drove their cars. Let me rephrase that. They daily drive their Hellcats and don't have any issues with them because they maintain them the way that they would, normally maintain any of their fleet. And these are guys that maintain their cars. They got the money to maintain them properly too. So, Gordy Scat saying people usually buy Hellcats to go fast. That's very true. Luke Richardson saying, I heard the 2020 GT500 is making 720 horsepower. Yeah, that's what I'm hearing too. I've heard 720, 755. Guys, honestly, once you get above 700, it really doesn't matter until you start to tickle that 900 horsepower number. Just in terms of how the car feels. And I spent a lot of time with the Demon. It's got 309 gears versus the 262 in my Hellcat. I've run the Demon down the drag strip. I've run modified Demon down the drag strip. I've run Hellcat, Maya 392. I've run everything down the drag strip, Mopar related, it seems, at some point or another. And I got to tell you, the actual feel between one power level to the next, to the next, to the next is not as much as you might think. I mean, yeah, it's kind of noticeable, but it goes from being a lot of fun to interesting with the Hellcat, like a lot of fun with the 392, a little bit more interesting with the Hellcat. The Demon, you get a nice hard hit through mid-track with the Demon, and then it basically, that's about it. And then obviously anything modified from there, and you're real deep into the nines, and you can pretty much tell the difference there. But when we're talking about production cars, 720, 750, even 770, I mean, you're not going to feel a huge difference in that power range, but it may show up in the numbers on the drag strip if it'll, again, survive the trip to the drag strip, which I'm sure it will at least a couple of times. But, it's certainly not a demon killer. It's going to have its hands all kinds of full with a red eye, and even with a stock Hellcat, it better not rest on it, because that stock Hellcat will give it all the real it can handle and then some. Just saying. I got a 1049 and a string of 1050s to prove it, and so do a lot of other guys. So, let's see. Christian McVeigh saying, hey, Mason. Hey, Christian. Says, I'm a huge fan of your videos. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that, Christian. Thanks for hanging out with me. He says, quick question. I'm a college student and plan on getting a Hellcat eventually. Do you think the cafe regulations will kill the muscle cars before I get a chance? No, they can't kill what's already been made, Christian. So if you find yourself a clean one that's used, that's the route that I would go. But no, not really. Cafe, we're still a ways out from really having to worry too much about that. And besides, FCA is going to keep making cars until one of two things happen. Either they're told that they can't, or people quit buying them. So, the way that I see it is that you've got a lot of upside, for when you get out of school. My suggestion would be to save your money. And if you just absolutely have to get a Hellcat, find a real clean one like I did. There's a lot of them out there, and there will continue to be a lot of them out there. Just by the nature of these cars. And typically the owners of these cars take really good care of them. And you find one that's been maintained really well, talk to the owner, get to know him or her, and chances are they babied that thing. And like I say, you'll be fine. Just make sure you give it a good once over. Make sure you know what you're buying. Let's see. Gorgeous Scat 392, enjoy listening to you talk, Brian. Well, thank you, Gorgeous Scat 392. I appreciate it. I enjoy you hanging out with us. Let's see. Fucking Speed Maniac says Chevy's cool car slogan should be here for a limited time only. Yeah, you know what, man? I got to tell you something. I want Chevy to do well, and that's the other thing too. I don't want to see Chevrolet fail. I don't want to see Ford fail. Obviously, I don't want to see Mopar fail, but the idea here is that, this strong competition brings out the best of the breed. And I don't like to see Camaro faltering, and I don't like to see Mustang getting, slapped around all over a drag strip. All of them have their pros and cons. All of them have their strengths and weaknesses. And, the cool thing is that, between Ford and the Mopars is that you can literally have two completely different driving experiences. If you had, one of each in your driveway, meaning a 392 car and a Mustang GT, or a Roush Mustang and a Hellcat or a Red Eye. you know, you really can have two completely different driving experiences. The problem with the Camaro is that, man, I hate to tell you this, it's like it tries to compromise between the two. A little bit of the muscle in the 6.2, the way the 6.4 has, and has the size of the Mustang and would presumably be as nimble, but you know how it is with a compromise. You know, you just don't get as much of the good no matter which way you go. It's better to just do one thing really, really well and be known for it than try to be a jack of all trades and be mediocre and forgettable at all things. Let's see. J Pum is saying almost 30 in here and only 9 thumbs up. Come on now. Yep, looks like as of now we got 43 in and 13 thumbs up. Let's get some thumbs up, y'all. Let's see. SRT Crazy. Hey, buddy, have you ever seen SMS Celine SRT8 Challenger before? No, I haven't. I was just looking at one online for sale, and they're asking 20 grand, and that seemed like a bargain for over 700 horsepower. Let me caution you on that kind of stuff. Anytime you start buying modified cars, you know, a car that was naturally aspirated and now has a supercharger on it, be real leery of that, because one of two things is going on here. You're either buying somebody's problems, in other words, they're selling it to get rid of it. You know, always look at those types of situations, like, you know, you ever take a look at a hot chick and, you know, you just know that somewhere out there's some dude that is just sick of her shit. Well, that's probably what you're going through with that. You know, this guy's just trying to get rid of the car. If the car did have mods and it was put back to stock, I'd feel a little bit better about it. So let's see. Vortex saying, I'm in Cali and my exhaust is loud. I'm doomed. Yep. Get ready. You're going to get a ticket. Actually, you probably won't. I think most of the police officers are going to save that for if they just really want to lean on somebody. I doubt very seriously they're going to want to spend their time messing with that. Tony Rom is asking, what was Ford doing different versus GM and Mopar in the 60s? They always had an answer for the others. Heavy hitters, the books I've read, Thunderbolt, anyone, even the street side had nice Fords. You know, the funny thing is, Ford back then, they did have some answers, but they didn't have as many answers, and that's really the big question here. You know, they had the Falcon Sprint, which a lot of people forget about, but you get a Hypo 289 and a Falcon Sprint that was nasty quick. Obviously the Mustang, but the Mustang almost accidentally seemed to fall into place. I mean, the Mustang was basically just a warmed over Falcon. And as the Mustang progressed, it got bigger engines, it got better suspension geometry, it got a little bit better at everything. But the reality is that, you know, aside from the side oiler 427, let me think about this. And you can kind of make a case for the candid valve small blocks, the Boss 302, Boss 351, you know, Cobra Jet platform as well. They didn't really have a lot for the masses the way Chevrolet did. And you also have to remember, Chevrolet does one thing really well, and that's build one engine that does everything. So you could take a big block, any Mark III, 396, 427, 454, and you could basically find that in every car that they made. You'd see 396s and 427s in station wagons, 454s in pickup trucks, but then you'd also see them in the Corvette. You'd see the 396 in practically everything. So they would have one block that they would have heads and intake and cams that would do basically everything. Mopar wasn't quite as good at that and we're talking about big blocks. Mopar was kind of good with that, but you didn't see wide use of the 440 in multiple areas. You might have seen a 400 in a truck, or you might have seen, you know, other engines in a truck. You just didn't see the widespread use of the 440 like you would have seen with Chevrolet. Plus, Chevy just sold more vehicles. Ford just didn't have the, I don't know, they just didn't have what Chevy had in terms of drag racing backing either. You know, a lot of people just gravitated towards Chevrolet and in some cases Mopar because there was more you could do with them. Now, it's not to say you couldn't kick ass with a Ford. Plenty of people did, but that's just kind of the way it shook out. SRT Crazy saying, when it comes to muscle, it's Mopar or no car. I love me some Mopar, brother. You know that's right. Let's see. Luke Rich saying, what is my opinion of the 4.8 LS small block? Actually, I like 4.8 a lot. I got a 4.8 on my 1500 and I beat the crap out of it on a daily and still runs like new. Yep, and it probably will for a long time. And then throw a turbo on it and it will do even better. Let's see. That 4.8 is actually a badass little engine. So it's a lot more badass than people give it credit for. Plenty of guys out there running deep into the nines with 4.8s. Let's see, some Siphonics. I'm going to keep saying, putting an M in there somewhere. So these four guys keep saying, push Roger, such ancient tech. Get into the 21st century, get a real deal, do overhead cam engine. Do they realize DOHC had been out in the 1910s? Grinds my gears. You know what's funny is that, yeah, so again, look up the Hall Scott engines. Early industrial and aviation engines had gear-driven overhead cam engines. And it was done that way because it was a simpler design. People say, oh, overhead cam, that's exotic. Actually, it's a simpler design, especially when you're running them off of a direct drive from the crankshaft with a prop shaft going to the cylinder head. You know, that's how they did it back in the day. And, you know, we're talking about engines that, you know, granted, they ran on gasoline that had an octane rating of like 30 or something stupid like that. So the compression ratios were really low, but they're big bore, long stroke, over square engines, which means they had a longer stroke than the bore was round in terms of diameter. And, you know, that's, you know, it's just hysterical. Get with the times. Like there were 4-valve engines, overhead cam 4-valve engines back in the late teens, early 1920s. Let's see. This loan, Ron's Demon ran a 971 running out of fuel. Yeah, he did. Actually, I think he ran out of gas on that next pass right after that. His 60-foot and 330 ET was better than Dodge's record. So on one of those, it might have been on that pass, he actually did. There's a lot of guys getting these things down so low in fuel. But anyway, yeah, he did. He did really well, as a matter of fact. Would have liked to have seen him cover that record. Jay, thank you very much. $9.99, the contribution for the record for Project Revlon. Thank you so much, Jay. I do appreciate that. So yeah, we are definitely going to be shooting for the record this weekend. Not sure if it's going to be Saturday or Sunday up in Dallas, but I believe the number that I have to cover is a 1043. I need to get the car to run a 1043 to not only secure the record, but to pretty much lock it in. So, you know, what are we doing to the car to get it ready? Well, probably the same stuff that we did to get it ready for the last event out. By the way, just so you guys know, I am attempting to get the stock Hellcat record with full interior, meaning the back seat and the passenger seat are in the car on 93 octane fuel with no additives, no boosting, no Torco, no race gas, no nothing. Now, that being said, I don't know if the record was set with some type of an octane booster or without, and I don't know if it was run with an add mix of race fuel or not. And my understanding is that it was run with the passenger seat in the car. But I am absolutely going to be prepared. If that thing runs a 1045, I will be adding a little bit of race gas to it just to even the playing field, because I think there's some folks that are saying that they're running 93 octane. They're not really running 100% 93 octane. So I got that in my back pocket, but I want to be above board and get that record on my own. And if I do get it on my own without race gas, then we're just going to see how deep we can set that sucker on a little bit of race gas to kind of keep those knock sensors at bay. And if I can't get there with that, then that seat's coming right the hell out of that car. So, you know, we're going to get there one way or another, I hope, and we'll see. But aside from that, using the same tires, same wheels, I'm just going to drive her up to Dallas. We're going to make some passes and hopefully nothing breaks and we'll drive her back home. So that's the plan anyway. But thank you very much. Yeah, I truly appreciate that. Ernesto Garcia, my man, is in the house saying, besides full bolt-ons and a tune on a Ram RT, what would be the next step? Cam or E85? I'd say Cam for that. Best time so far is an 830 in the 8th on stock 22-inch rims, or just go performance drive shaft with slicks to get a better time. You can, well, first of all, get the drive shaft for sure, and then it's up to you at that point. A cam will kind of get you there, but it doesn't necessarily always translate into ETs. And what I mean by that is, you know, horsepower numbers, mainly because you got a heavy truck. And I would say a cam, a little bit more aggressive cam, would definitely help the truck make a little bit of power. You'll pick up about, for the cam I would put together for that truck, somewhere 25 horsepower to the rear wheels, 30 horsepower to the rear wheels. I'd want to try to maintain some of that torque down low. And, you know, with the setup that you've got, it definitely could benefit from it for sure. But if you really want to get freaky with it, you got to go with a drag wheel and tire setup as well. So just keep that in the back of your mind. You know, once you start putting cams and stuff like that into the trucks, you're going to really want to make the most of it. And really, in the meantime, you could always swap out drag wheels and tires and keep what you got, and don't worry about getting into the engine just yet. It's probably what I would do with that truck. That's a real pretty truck. Let's see. Mike Benedetto's asking, is there an electric gas pedal in the Demon? Yes, there is. They are all fly-by-wire. Comment marks, apart from looking cool, what does the wide body do and how do they affect performance? Well, Shin in New Jersey is saying wide body cars allow for a wider track, more tire allows for more lateral grip. That is correct. And the other thing that it does is it basically gives you the ability to track the car however you want to track it and have a tire that you know will work in all conditions. And what I mean by that is you've got a wider tire, gives you a little bit more traction on the drag strip. A little bit wider tire helps you pull a little bit better lateral G's. And aside from that, that's about it. It does look cool. Ford Tech got the thumbs up. Rouse727 is asking, what settings do you use for the track or for roll racing? For the track, I like to use everything in sport with the suspension on street. And for roll racing, I would leave everything in sport. Let's see. Real Race Productions asking, how do these new A10 Mustangs trap 124 with just E85 headers, almost catching up to Cats trapping 126? So a couple of things. One is they're significantly lighter, so there's that. Two, those heads flow like you would not believe. And three, when you start adding E85 on those cars and manipulating the exhaust and the intake valves, you can pretty much get, you can tailor make a camshaft profile for those cars. So, you know, they've got high compression, so they take good advantage of the E85. It's not that, oh, and they've got a fantastic intake manifold that is going to flow enough air to accommodate that E85. The 392s do not. They do pick up torque down low, but the intake manifold just doesn't flow the air up top to be able to actually take advantage of the extra fuel that's got to be dumped into that thing because you're running E85. Let's see. Vince saying, Jack of all trades in the new GT500, going for that. I know we don't have numbers, but I doubt the 500 will be a ZR1 or an ACR around a track and will not touch a Demon on the strip. Okay, all around? Yeah, that's kind of what I'm getting the sense of. You know, it's there to satisfy the compromise in everybody. So you've got the DSG transmission to appeal to the more tech oriented driver, I guess. You know, you see that transmission in supercars, so I guess it translates into muscle cars, right? I don't know, it's just kind of weird. You know, there's a lot of good things going on, I'm sure, with that engine, but you know, we don't know the power numbers yet. And really, for me, it's going to do a lot of things really well, and especially once you know, guys get more versed and get used to, you know, having the thing in flappy paddle mode or just leaving it in automatic mode, it'll be fine. But the problem that I see with it is it's too much of a departure from traditional muscle car stuff. You know, it doesn't really break the, you know, I don't know, the rules of muscle car per se, with everything except for that transmission. And, you know, my opinion is leave it alone. Give us a normal manual transmission. Give us a normal automatic transmission. Save the exotic stuff for the exotics, because for guys that really want that car and lust after that car, I would hate for that transmission to be the reason why the car's base price goes from, and I'm not talking about dealer markup added on here either, but, you know, let's say that car could come in normally at $70,000, but because of that transmission, it's got to check in at $85,000. Well, I mean, you've alienated a lot of your buying public by doing that. I mean, it's difficult to justify that kind of price when the performance is not going to be, you know, overwhelmingly better. And especially when you consider the I don't know, the lineage of the GT500. I mean, it was the bruiser, it was the brawler, and, you know, you can't, you know, techno the thing out of that role. It's just, I don't know, it's a little cringy for me. So, but I don't know. I get it in one respect, because, you know, if the 10-speed couldn't handle the power, okay, fine, that's great. But why would you develop a transmission that couldn't handle that kind of power? Doesn't seem to make a whole lot of sense to me. In fact, it seems like poor planning more than anything else. Let's see. One and only SB340 85 new injectors, header styers is a pretty decent bump. Yeah, absolutely. It's a decent bump, but you got to remember that, you know, if you leave it at that, you'll be in good shape. A solid tune for any of these cars on E85 will definitely yield some good results. Let's see. The Speed Maniac saying, if GM wanted to get, this is a good point, if GM wanted to get people excited, they should bring back the old Trans Am, versus having to buy a Camaro and then send it off to, you know, basically buy your Camaro and send it off and have it converted. And he's saying, but they're boring compared to the Dodge. You know, the funny thing about the Dodge versus Camaro and Mustang is that Dodge is doing an incredible job of keeping the excitement strong for the brand in general. GM is not. It's funny. When's the last time you saw any Dodge commercial that didn't have a car smoking the tires in it? I challenge you to go out and find one. I don't know that there are many where they're not. And the main thing is, you know, Chevrolet just doesn't have that going for them, and Ford doesn't either. It's kind of a bummer, you know, and you see these Chevy commercials where, God, they're excruciatingly boring to watch. And I mean, okay, so one of them is they bring in this panel of car owners, right? Whatever. And they say, you know, they got the cars covered, and they pull one car cover off, and the original one was a Honda or something. They pull that off. Then it's Toyota, and then they pull that off. Guys, I'm not sitting around watching commercials. All I saw was a car cover with a Honda on it, or a car cover with a Toyota on it. I'm more interested in looking at those cars than whatever's underneath that thing, because to me, it's just a bunch of, you know, transportation appliances at that point. Let's see. Cody's saying the person who bought the $1 million 2020 GT500 on Barrett-Jackson this weekend should put it on the dyno and get us the rear wheel horsepower numbers. I am positive that there is some kind of a disclaimer floating around in there that's going to keep that fella from doing that, but I do agree with you 100%. Christian McVeigh saying Motor Trend reported the next gen Challenger and Charger could be hybrids. Your thoughts? No. I don't know that. I mean, there might be some variant of it, maybe one of the 6 cylinders with an electric motor setup, but I don't see them being hybrids at all. I think that's wishful thinking on their part, but who knows? I could be wrong. Luke Richards saying, never figured this out. How many cubic inches is a 4.8? It's about 300 cubic inches, roughly 61 cubic inches per liter. One and only SB340, a little bit as far as hybrids, like the ones in some 5.7s. Trucks won't change much except gas mileage. Yeah, I mean, some of the hybrids are pretty nice. I like I like the idea of the hybrid, but I don't know. Anything that takes away some of that heritage, some of that muscle car feel is going to bum me out a little bit. But you know what? If that's the way of the future and that's the way that they get to some cafe number or a fuel economy number that they need to hit, hey, I'm more for it. And as a matter of fact, it wasn't that long ago that, small engine turbo setups were, looked upon by muscle car guys as being not all that exciting. Well, look at how many 4-cylinder and 6-cylinder turbos that are out there screaming. So, who knows? Actually, it might be kind of neat. It might open the door for a whole new genre of hot rodding, and that's seeing how much power you can get out of one of those electric motors until they start blowing up, electric transmissions or whatever they run on. Jay Palm is saying the Barrett-Jackson auction on Saturday was bumping Resto Corvettes for $250,000 all day. There was a 70 Charger Daytona 500 all original. It was gorgeous, man. Yeah, that would be pretty sweet. I missed that, and I need to go back and take a look at that on MTOD. That's Motor Trend on Demand, by the way. Real Race Productions. The GT500 was disappointing as hell. Rumor says they heard the red eye making 797 and reconsidered their life. No hype, no power numbers, no real track numbers. Shame on Ford. Mopar will make anyone hype. Yeah, you know what? That's true. I'll tell you something else too. So, you get into this whole, I'm not even going to bring up the demon, the venom kills demons or snakes eat demons or whatever the thing was. But anyway, one of the things that I really got annoyed by was all of the journos out there that were saying this car is going to decimate the Hellcat. It's going to destroy the red eye. It's going to do all this and it's going to do all of that. But oddly, they're keeping their mouth shut when it comes to the Demon and the C8 Corvette. They know better. And it's fun because let's face it, guys, no matter how fast the red eye is, the Hellcat will always be the benchmark standard. So for modern quarter mile hot rodding stuff, right? So you've got the Hellcat, which everybody's going to be gunning for, that still hasn't been bested yet, by the way, except by Mopar's own vehicles. We'll see if that GT500 can actually, get past that first boss level of the Hellcat. But I wouldn't hold your breath. That car on a tire is going to have to do better than the best average Hellcat in good conditions, and that's in the high 1050s. Even taking my car out of the equation, it's going to have to do incredibly well to be even in that consideration. And by the way, I certainly hope the GT500 does it, because if it doesn't, that thing is going to be ridiculed in like you would not believe. Then we're going to get into the guys that are tuning the cars. They're going to start to find the limits of that GT500, and I'm afraid to say that they will find it but quick in that transmission or in other areas of that car. And then you're going to start hearing about that on the internet, and then everybody is going to lose interest in it. You don't get that problem with the GT350 because you don't have a lot of people going out and modifying the GT350. It's already really good at what it was designed to do from the factory. No sense in going in and tearing that up when you've got a perfectly good Coyote that will be a more reliable and faster in the quarter mile. So, I don't know, man. We'll see. We'll see. Let's see. Oh, Jay's checking in saying, Cody, it was Craig Jackson from Barrett-Jackson that bought the 2020 GT500 for $1.1 million. I am in the wrong business. VIN number 001. Real Racing Productions asked, does race gas / octane booster help stock cars such as the SRT 392, Hellcat, etc.? It helps a little bit. So here's the thing. Some of these tunes that are in the factory cars are kind of hot from the factory, and they are relying on the, and what I mean by that is they're, in some areas, they're a little bit lean. And they're relying on the knock sensors to pull timing out of it based on fuel quality. So that's one of the reasons why tuning is sometimes, you know, kind of important with some of these cars. Anyway, long story short, the way that the race gas helps is that it keeps the car from pulling timing based on potentially bad fuel quality. That's where that happens. Damn, it is coming down in sheets out there. It's raining its ass off. Imagine that. Raining again. Huh. Let's see. TU's asking, B, is there any way you can do a separate video going down the list of the top 10 ETs from that Demon event? I keep going in and out of the live and I can't keep up. If not, no biggie. If so, thanks. I don't have a list of all of the cars and their times, but I'm sure that it will be posted here pretty soon on either looking it up through Legion of Demons. Some people were calling it the Summoning of the Demons. I'm pretty sure they're going to have a list, a leaderboard that's going to be posted up. I can tell you that Ron Silva, I think, had the quickest time. Ray Z had the fastest Demon on stock Nittos. And that was Ron went a 971, Ray went a 978 on the stock Nittos, which to me, in some respects, is the record. Basically because his car was as stock as it gets. And let me think about this. What else? What else would have been out there? I mean, that's about it. There, you know, with a smattering of some other cars from first through fifth. I think Ray got fifth or sixth place. But basically the times ranged on the stock cars from 971 at the quickest to, you know, I think the top 10 would have rounded out at like 982, 985. So hopefully that helps you out. I mean, the more experienced racers were getting in the, you know, deep into the 980s. So I'll say, you know, 971 to 985 would be your spread. Ernesto's saying, thanks, thumbs up, brother. Let's see. One and only SB340 saying, hey, TU, wish I could help you out with that. Let's see. One and only SB heard 978, 971, 979, 981. 981 would have been, God, what was her name? Driving the Destroyer Gray Demon. 984. So that sounds about right. See, Gorgeous Scat 392. Do you guys like the looks of the Hellcat wide body? I used to not like them until I saw them in person. I think they have a pretty aggressive. They look pretty aggressive. I actually like the wide bodies now a lot more than I've seen them in person. Before, I really wasn't the biggest fan, but the more I'm around them and the more I see them in person, the more I actually started to like them. So I'm in the camp of, you know, used to not like them so much. Now I do actually like them quite a bit. Now, you know, what I want one for myself, not necessarily. I like my Hellcat, but that being said, I tell you what, they really have a presence about them in person that the regular Hellcat just kind of doesn't have. Let's see. One and only SB 350 is also letting us know that Ron Silva got the 971, and I think the high sevens. Yeah, there was quite a few that. So here's the thing: as the DA started to go away throughout the course of the event. If you hadn't run your number by about, I don't know, I'd say about 3 o'clock, it was pretty much time to wrap it up at that point. So, really you had between the hours, you know, between the track and the DA, from about 10 o'clock in the morning until I'd say about lunchtime to get it done. So there was only about a 2-hour window that you could really count on that number being really good. Let's see, Mike is asking, last question, I use something called a sprint booster. I plug it into my electric gas pedal and it gives me more instant response. Would you consider using this on my Demon? Well, I've got the Hellcat. No, I would change that in the tune itself if I were to do anything like that. But I have used that before, a product like that before on BMWs and on Mercedes, and they work really well. Yeah, I'm talking about the laggy response. Yeah, you can. What he's talking about is a deal that goes in line with the pedal, the throttle pedal, and it basically intercepts the signal, and you can tailor it to be more or less aggressive. Pedal commander, I believe is what they're called. Siphonic saying, I heard the GT500, you have to turn the knob with your pinky finger up in the air. Yes, you do. You have to dainty it and you have to flap it. Drag pack and solid 600-700 pounds less weight. It's a much smaller car. Absolutely. Let's see. Vortex saying, well, yeah, the fact a car right off the showroom floor that can pull the front tires off the ground. Hell yeah. Actually, speaking of pulling the front tires off the ground, we are dangerously close to dragging the front tires off the ground in Project Revlon. There, that video of the 1054, I was sitting there just, you know, rewind it. Did I get any air off of that? It was awfully close. Let's see. Let's see. Oh, hang on. Luke's saying I'm very opinionated in case you didn't pick up on that. That's all right, man. I like it. See, one and only SB340. I agree with me, Mason. I worry we get the little hybrid or they go crazy with electric self-driving crap sooner. I certainly hope that's not going to be the case. I'd rather see him, you know, do anything other than that. That's enough to make you want to cry. So, let's see. Toby Ramos, Sinju's asking, is it true that drag-tuned diesels have to launch in four-wheel drive because of the torque? If so, what problems could arise from not doing it? Only if they don't have, you know, the traction in two-wheel drive. But if you got four-wheel drive, why not use it? I say go for it. That's the main thing. I mean, yeah, they're going to want to launch in all-wheel drive, though, because they have such a heavy torque hit down low. Or right off the line, I should say. Sean Egan, thank you very much. I appreciate the donation to Project Revlon. As says, next generation Challenger and Charger will be lightened versions of the LX platform. Correct. And V8 power. Generation after that, big changes probably. I will agree. But yeah, everything that I've seen and heard is going to be a revised version of the LX platform, all with our favorite V8s in tow. And with the idea that we'll be losing a little bit of weight, but not a ton. They're not going to move too far away from the actual mission statement of the car the way that it sits now. It is not going to be a direct line of sight competitor to the Mustang or the Camaro, nor should it be. Nobody in Mopar is really asking for that. A little bit of a weight loss just to, you know, level the playing field, so to speak. But we're doing our own thing and doing very well at it, as a matter of fact. And hopefully they keep that going. Slick S550, thank you very much for the donation to Project Revlon. Says, your live streams are awesome, Brian. Thank you for doing them. Thank you very much. Do you sometimes feel you should have kept the SRT, and if so, why? Oh, man. Yeah, I do sometimes. And here's the reason why. I had and continue to have so much fun with the 392 cars. At the track rental, I was able to take a Scat Pack core down the drag strip. And I'll tell you something. That car was dead stable, launched like a dream. It ran down the drag strip, went at 1195 at like 112 mile an hour, and was a blast to drive. And it's not that it's easier but than a Hellcat, but in a way it is. There's no, I don't know, there's less of a worry with those cars. You know that the car is going to get down the track just fine. It's going to be fun. It's going to sound great doing it. And, you know, I've always loved the 392 cars. The Hellcat is a little bit different. The Hellcat is, yeah, it's faster on paper. But I got to tell you, there's not a huge difference just in terms of getting the car down the drag strip. They both make the same noises. They drive more or less the same getting down the drag strip, with the Hellcat being just slightly faster. But faster doesn't always equate to more fun. And the 392 cars in general are just a better balanced car than the Hellcat. You can actually use all of the power that you can get out of a 392 on the street, whereas you really can't do that with the Hellcat. And as much as I love my Hellcat, I have to concede the fact that it is tougher to hook up on the street. It's tougher to launch just in general on the street. And if I've got to be honest, you know, I don't know. I really do miss my 392. And keep in mind, you know, to say one is faster than another is not to say that one of the two is slow. As Quick Break and I have had conversations before, they will both take you from 0 to arrested very quickly. And both of them are capable of going well over double of any posted speed limit that you've ever seen. And here in Texas, our highest speed limit's 85 miles an hour. And believe me when I tell you, that 392 will cover double that, no problem. So it's just a matter, you know, you're splitting hairs as far as how long it takes one of them to get there versus the other. I think that, you know, if I had it to do all over again, I would still get my Hellcat. But I got to tell you, yeah, I do miss my 392 and still love them to this day. Very much so. And thank y'all again as well. Let's see. Sean Egan is saying, no way a stock GT500 pulls on my car in the same conditions. I'm pretty sure that it's going to be tough for the Mustang to cover that number. Mike is saying, who cares about Ford, LOL. I don't know. I mean, they're in there. They're in there having fun. Mark Clark, what's up, my brother from up north? Saying, what's up, Brian? Hope you and the wife are well, and you as well. Let's see. Headed to the Montreal Auto Show on Saturday. Anything I should take a close look at that's new for this year? Yeah. Take a look at if they're going to have the GT500, walk past it on your way to the Mopar side, and take a look at, you know, get up close and personal with those red eyes. Get a good look at the trucks are really nice. Take a look at the new Supra, which I think you're going to like a lot. And, but you know, that's really about it. There's really not a lot that I can say that I'm getting super excited about coming up. You know, I would love to see, you know, a Galaxy 500 or, you know, something along those lines from Ford. You know, something cool from Chevrolet for once would be kind of neat. That didn't look like it was out of a cartoon. So, but anything like that would be awesome. But let me know what you see. Shoot some pics, man. I'd love to see what catches your eye. Quick Break, thank you very much, sir. I do appreciate it. Says, always appreciate your input, brother. Always appreciate having you, sir. Looking forward to seeing you bust that record's ass this weekend. So yes, we will be going. I don't know if we're going to be there on Saturday or Sunday, but yeah, we will be there in full force. Revlon is gassed up, ready to go. We just need to load her up full of the jack and the tires and the beef jerky and the Gatorade and everything else. But that being said, you know, I think we're going to have a really good time with it. And as a matter of fact, you know, I'll tell you something. I would love to crack that record up there in Dallas. It would have been cool to do it down here, but I think that Dallas event, I think we're going to get it done, and we're not gonna let anything hold us back. I'll tell you that right now. And look, I'm not above it. If I got to throw a little tasty taste of race gas in her, I'll be bringing that with me. If I've got to pull the seat out, I will. But the idea is to secure the record with full interior. That means passenger seat and rear seat are installed in the car. If we can't do it that way, then we're going to go at it a different way. If we do secure it, I will post up that I've nailed it with the full interior, and then we're just going to see how deep we can take her after that. So, should be a lot of fun. Thank you very much for the donation. I appreciate it, my friend. Gorgeous Scat 392. Will 110 octane give any type of performance gain to a bolt-on 392? Not really. First of all, don't run it because 110 is leaded, and you want to stick no higher than, I would say no higher than 104 octane in that car. Any more than that's really not going to help you. People say it will open up 392, but wouldn't you need a good tune to notice anything for a significant difference? Yeah, you're going to need a little bit of a tune to get the most out of it. You can get a little bit of race gas in that car and kind of shut the knock sensors up a little bit, but you won't see a major difference. And it's also going to depend on the DA that you're in the car in. If it's, you know, nice and cool outside, you might see a little bit of a change there. But on a stock car, don't be looking for a huge difference there because it's really not going to be there on a 392. Let's see. Trying to get to everybody here, guys. Let's see. Real Racing Productions did a 93 octane engine trans. Put the Hellcat airbox and filter on today. Nice. Of course, getting all of this from you. Thank you very much. Looking to slap on the Nitto Tri-5Rs. What kind of quarter mile and trap can I get? So let's see. We got the 93 octane engine trans put in the airbox. Depending on your density altitude, I mean, you're going to be deep into the 11s, brother. I mean, that's the same setup I had on my car, so I don't see any reason why you wouldn't be right on top of me, which would be, you know, mid-11s at about 117 to 119 miles an hour. Mike saying thank you. Oh, one and only SB340. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Says he's got to run. Hope this helps the Revlon rocket. See you next time, buddy. Thank you so very much. Yeah, it does. Every little bit does. And thank you very much for that. I can't tell you how much I appreciate that. So, you know, to give you guys a rundown of what all's done to Revlon and what the latest is with my girl. She's got a DSS drive shaft. She's got a performance engineering rear diff brace, the extreme brace. And that's it. I mean, she's just stock, and there is no catch can on that car, no tune. In fact, the PCM isn't even unlocked. It's still just the locked PCM is in the car. And that's it. We got the race stars. I'm using one of my fronts here as my ottoman. So, you know, we got the race stars going. These things are freaking heavy, by the way. Now, I know you get a little bit of rolling resistance, but my God, snap up my shoulder picking that thing up. But like I say, aside from that, there's really not anything dirty too. I got to get me some brake. You know what? Brake pads. That's what's next on the list. I got to do something about that. Man, I washed my hands earlier. And realistically, I think we're going to be able to get it with where we're at. Now, obviously, you know, what are the plans for the car after this? You know, we're going to see how deep we can get the car this weekend. And then from there, it's going to be just enjoy the car for what it is for about the next, you know, 2 to 3 months. Wait till the spring, get the computer unlocked, and I'll put one of my transmission tunes on it. And I will do a couple of minor things to the tune just to keep it out of trans over temp for a little bit longer period of time. But I am going to keep the stock catalytic converters on the car. I'm not going to do anything to the car that's going to make it any less emissions friendly than it already is. Going to, like I say, just tickle it just a little bit. Just to get it into a little bit happier rev range for shifting. And that'll be about it. She's going to maintain the course, and you know, we're going to see what we can do with stock power. So I'm not messing with fueling, not messing with timing, not messing with any of that. That's the idea so far. Ford Tech, the GT500 shift now, it's like having a cup of, is that supposed to be tea, Trey? There it is, tea. I got it. Mike saying the stream is down. Is it back up? I don't know. Oh, I guess it's back up. Let's see. Crowd Slayer saying, I think it's funny. Ford knocked FCA for putting dial shifters in the Ram trucks. Now they're putting them in the Mustang. Yeah, not only putting them in a Mustang, but putting it in their Premier Mustang, which makes it even worse. Jay Pump is saying, it's all reloaded. It's all good. Got the double arms up. Psh, psh, I like it. Thank you, sir. The Ford Fusion had the shift knob first. Nice. Actually, what? Chrysler 200 didn't want any of that? Racer X saying, hey, what's going on, buddy? What's up, Racer X? Jay Pump is saying, what's up to Racer X? Luke saying, I already said this. The shifter on the GT500 looks like a hockey puck. Looks so wrong on many levels. Yeah, it does. It actually looks a lot like the BMW 7 Series. I remember when that very first came out with the iDrive system. That was weird. Racer X saying, I can attest how quickly a 392 can get you in trouble. Yeah, you can. Says the worst speeding ticket of my life in Rob's car. Yep. Ford Tech saying he sub. Nice. Thank you. Let's see. Mark saying, thanks for the advice. Absolutely. But you got to shoot some pics. I want to see what catches your eye, brother. This is bad news coming from Racer X. Says he just found out his axle going to be another week. Still not going to be able to run at the private event. Damn, that sucks, man. I was hoping I'd be able to see you up there. See, Toby Rom is saying, Mark saying, hey, the new Broncos should be unveiled in Montreal if it hasn't been yet. That'll be a cool one to check out. The new Broncos being built on the new Ranger platform, which isn't really a new platform, but it's new for us. Let's see. Ford Tech saying, thank you. Thank you. Real Race Production saying, by the way, I ended up whooping that Camaro, the 6th gen, on a roll with my tune. Put a car and a half on that thing up to a healthy 140. These 392s are monsters, no matter how how aero and sissy Chevy wants to be. I tell you what, I've said it a ton of times, man. I love me some 392. They're fun. They're a happy engine, and no matter what you do with them, they always just seem to, they always seem to want more. So, yeah, I love them to death. They do have their limitations, but you know what? You stick to the recipe, and they will absolutely reward you with a fantastic time. Let's see. Speed Maniac, what is the record for a stock 392 Scat 6-speed? Man, I'm not sure. I want to say it's like an 1160 something. Shit, I don't know. Somebody's going to have to help me out with that, but I want to say it's in the 1160s. Dollar Power saying, hello, Mason. To get the best ET, barely turn the stage light on. Right. Well, you're going to want to get, you're going to want to shallow stage that thing as best as you possibly can. Your pre-stage and your stage lights. So your pre-stage is the light that goes on first. Then you've got your stage light. And then you can deep stage it, which means you roll all the way in until you just about turn the light off. And in some cases, you actually turn that second light off. So, yeah, we're going to be shallow staging the piss out of Revlon. Let's see. Mike's going, yeah. Let's see. Jay's asking, which is cleaner and quieter pads? Carbon metallic or carbon ceramic? Carbon ceramic, I believe. I'm assuming those are the top choices. Not sure. That's true, but you can have messy versions of both. But I think the carbon ceramic are a little bit cleaner than the carbon metallic. Let's see. Ford Tech. Well, the first Ford to have the knob was the Fusion. Yep. Let's see. Mike saying Jay Akibono. Is the V6 more reliable than the 5.7? Not really. Let's see. Siphonics saying, spotted any A10 SSs at the tracks yet? No. No, I haven't. And I want to see it. I want to see one out there. Mike is saying $300 a pair for the, let's see, for the Akibonos. Speedmaniac saying challenge accepted. Let's see. Siphon is asking, hey, Sup, what's up, man? How much boost will the 6.1 stock hold? Well, I mean, it depends on the tune. I wouldn't try to push it past, say, 10 pounds of boost. Actually, that might be pushing it. I would say 8 to 9 pounds of boost just to be on the safe side, and then the transmission becomes a bit of a problem. Then again, plenty of, NAG 1s have held plenty of power behind E55s, so they can be built. Racer X is asking, what are your thoughts on the CTSV coupe for Amber, maybe a 2013 or so? They're a lot of fun. They are durable. I mean, a really good resource for that would be Alex Pites, and his V was out there. I think he's ended up making like 900 horsepower to the rear wheels. It just depends on how freaky you want to get with that thing, but leave it stock, put a tire on it, and, maybe a set of half shafts and a tune. Let it ride from there. And I mean, you'll have the makings of a really fun car. I think in that setup, I mean, you're looking at a low 11-second car on average from what I've seen. Mark is asking, Mark P. Leclerc, my man, do you still have your Ram? I don't have my original Ram. I have my new work truck Ram, which is a fleet version of my old truck. 323 gears, and it is it's a lot of fun. It's not as fun as my old truck, but it's not too far from it. And it pulls great on the freeway, so can't really complain. But she was the older one was getting a little long in the tooth. Jay saying thanks to Mike. Let's see, Uncle Stinkford West Bottom. What's going on? Say, what's up, Dave? What's up, Uncle Stinkford? Say, just popping in here. I assume we already talked about the electrification thing. Yeah, a little bit. I mean, again, the way I look at it is if they do something like that, that just means that I get to brush up on my electricity skills, and let's see how much power we can get out of an electric motor. As far as I'm concerned, it's just another opportunity to hot rod a Mopar. Let's see. Christian McVeigh is asking, what modern domestic cars do you see being collector cars in the future besides the Demon, of course? Well, the Hellcat, anything with a 392 is going to be somewhat collectible. The GT350, the Viper, any vintage of the Viper, although some will argue with that. But the Viper nonetheless. The Camaro is going to be a tough sale because the Camaro doesn't really invoke the kind of, let's just put it like this. It doesn't have the universal appeal that the Mopars have or that the Mustangs have. So that'll be tough. The Z06 on some level, although it'll take it some time, the ZR1 is another one to look at. And obviously the Ford GT will fall in line somewhere with that. But that's for the more modern cars. Now you want to start rolling it back a little bit. You almost have to start defining collectible, but Lightnings would be up there. Obviously the Grand National, if you can find an actual Grand National, those things are already going through the roof. So they may be coming up on the crest of their bell curve. Let's see, what else? Typhoons, Cyclones are kind of on the downside of their bell curve right now. Aside from that, it's tough to say what people will gravitate towards. That's the other tough thing. So look at stuff that's kind of cool, like the new Gladiator Jeep. Could eventually end up being collectible on some level. I mean, any Jeep is always going to hold its value very well. And look at the new Bronco. That new Bronco, if they execute it properly, could be another one that you could actually drive, have a lot of fun with, and in 15 years, turn around and flip it for what you have in it. So, stuff to think about. James is saying, imagine a 392 Challenger or Charger with all-wheel drive. I'll tell you what, that would be pretty sweet. Let's see if it had a V8, had a combined 600 horsepower. Speed Maniac saying, by the way, I missed out on the roll racing on how it works due to the stream went down. Yeah, basically it the way it works is you get rolling, and as you're approaching the light, you just don't want to go past the light when before it goes green. And I think the agreed to speed is about 40 miles an hour. And then once you see green, man, you go wide open to the end of the quarter mile. It's actually a lot of fun. You just got to be careful. You don't want to. 40 miles an hour is kind of a weird speed. You got to make sure you're hooking up. That's for sure. Sophonics saying C7 ZR1 with drag tires setup versus stock Demon. Who wins the quarter mile? Demon will absolutely trounce the ZR1. The Speed Maniac, yep, 89 Turbo Trans Ams are highly collectible, probably just as much as the Grand National. They're a lot more rare than the Grand National, I will say that. Uncle Steve was saying, Jay Pump, what's up, Jay? Racer X has got a backwards feeding dog right now. Says he's got to run, buddy. We'll definitely catch up this weekend. Take care. Have a good one. Make sure that get the critter fixed up. But no, getting back to Revlon, she, like I say, we're going to keep her stock for as long as I can stand keeping a car stock, which is getting easier and easier, by the way. I may have to add, it's tough when you see a lot of your friends breaking down. I think eventually this is where the car is going to wind up. We're looking at, stock pulleys, possibly a pinned crank, but I want to stick around that stock power level. It may eventually get a 309 gear and upgraded half shafts, only because I do a lot of drag racing on a prepared surface. And, I like the Demon with the 309 gears. It didn't really feel a whole lot different, but there are times when I'd like for that thing to be a little bit snappier on the street, just playing around with it. So, but really, to get the most out of that car, it's going to need 309 gears and a rear seat delete. And aside from that, I mean, really leaving it alone is kind of the name of the game, to see just how far we can take the original bad boy on the block, the original Hellcat. Let's see how far we can take that thing without resorting to pulleys or trying to get more power out of it with a tune. Let's kind of take a little bit more of an old school approach to the car, be easy on the engine, easy on the transmission, and just see what kind of power we can get out of it, see what kind of ETs we can get out of it. Let's see. Symphonic saying, I don't know, I've seen ZR1s with drag radials run 10.0s. Yeah, I mean, you can get 10.0s out of them, but they just don't have the ability to get out of the hole the way that the Demon does. And realistically, the Vet will mile an hour, I would guess, will have a better mile an hour at the end of the track, or a very similar mile an hour. It's just going to be really tough to get that car to launch the way that it needs to launch to give it the opportunity to gun down the Demon at the big end of the track. And make no mistake, it is absolutely no slouch, that or the Z06. They're both very fast cars, and realistically, the ZR1 is probably poised to be able to cover a high 9 from the factory. So, let's see. Ghost74 is saying, hey, everyone. Hey, Ghost. Uncle Steve for wet on a backwards feeding dog. There it is. Yep, that's what's going on over at Racer X's home. Christian is asking, thanks for replying, man. Absolutely. Thanks for hanging out with me. Again, love your videos and look to learn a lot before I snag a Hellcat for myself. Best of luck with the record. You're going to crush it. I hope so. We'll see. If Mother Nature works with us and the track prep works with us, we'll have a very good opportunity to make a good showing of it, if nothing else. The Speed Maniac saying, I had to laugh at people when they would come running up to my 89 GTA Trans Am when I would go to the track and then look of disappointment only to find a 350. That's funny. GTAs were actually really nice cars. James is saying, I want Dodge to make another SRT4. So do I, so badly. If you guys don't know, I have the biggest crush on SRT4s. Freaking love those cars. Yeah, the Speed Maniac saying that it wasn't a turbo Trans Am. Yeah, I know. There's a lot of folks that got eaten up over that one. That was such a cool car, though. Slick S550. I've not tuned my car yet either. It's because we're getting older and wiser. At least we're supposed to be. Yeah. Well, the problem is, here's the thing. So modern cars are making lots of power now. I mean, think about it like this. If I were to tell you 10 years ago that you could just waltz into your local Dodge dealership and drive out of there with a car that is guaranteed to run a 10-second quarter mile with a set of tires, aftermarket set of tires for drag racing, you would say, okay, what Viper is it? Maybe number one or number two that I've lost my mind. Well, now, realistically, you've got multiple cars that can do that. And yeah, it's true. You can engineer anything to be able to handle any situation, so to speak, in terms of load, acceleration, braking, all of that. But let's be honest. I mean, there's only so much that a passenger car can manage with that much power, with as much weight as these cars carry. And, it just blows my mind that, we're living in an era where, these 10-second cars and these 11-second cars are everywhere, and, okay, let me put it to you a different way. If I were to tell you this, give you the same scenario, but say, instead of saying 10s, I can say, I can put you in a car that is guaranteed to run 11s, stock or very lightly modified. You probably wouldn't believe that either, but that's just the tip of the iceberg with these 392 cars. So anyway, just kind of weird when you think about it. Let's see. Go 74. Would you recommend me adding fog lights and the Challenger lip spoiler to my stock V6? That is all up to you, man. I would definitely, you can absolutely add them, but it's not going to hurt it. If you want to do it, absolutely, man. I say go for it. Let's see. Jumped over you, Ghost. What did I, Jay? Did I jump Ghost? What happened? Where'd he go? Oh, I guess I lost this one. Ghost 74. Is the rumor true that Dodge Challenger will lose its V8 in late 2020s? No, actually, I don't think so. The thing is that the V8 for Mopar is what is defining them right now. And for them to replace the V8 with anything, it would probably be, very similar to what they did back in the 80s. High output, small displacement, turbocharged engines. The thing is that the landscape is pretty cool with that these days. So, I wouldn't necessarily say that it would be a bad thing if we started seeing more of that coming from Mopar. But I don't see that being the case with the Challenger or the Charger. Mainly because it's the Challenger and Charger. I mean, that's why people buy them, or for the driving experience of that 392. Let's see. James is saying, is the V8 coming to an end again? I don't really know. And Ghost is saying, that's what I heard coming from what the CEO said. Again, I don't really know that the V8 is going to die like that with Mopar, but in the meantime, you know, we've got these V8s to play with. And I can tell you this, it's not necessarily a bad thing if Dodge starts coming out with really cool boosted engines. And you got to remember that, you know, there's rumored to have an inline six turbo for the Ram coming up, which, I mean, dude, are you kidding me? I mean, I will be all over that like you would not believe. But, you know, take a look at vehicles like the Grand National and the Turbo Trans Am and the Cyclone and the Typhoon and the GTR, and yeah, just start, you know, you can cherry pick this Omni GLH, Daytona, you know, all of the hot V6 and inline four turbos, the Conquest, STIs. How do I forget about that? You know, really cool cars. Well, with modern technology and modern metallurgy, you could easily get 500 horsepower out of any generic V6 turbo that you want to put together. So, you know, I wouldn't necessarily look at it as a bad thing. In fact, you know, if the next generation of muscle cars are, you know, big V6s or inline sixes with turbos, might not necessarily be a bad thing. But it would be bad because I'd be losing a V8, and that always sucks. Vortex saying stock all engine. Hopefully I didn't miss something. Let's see. Speed Maniac saying, as a kid growing up in the 80s, a 9-second car was usually a back half car with a big block and a roll cage. No doubt, man. I mean, the Pro Street, I mean, that's what you had to do to a car to make it work into the 9s, and in some cases just into the 10s, you know, mid to low 10s. And now we've got street cars that are handling that just fine. It blows my mind. Speed Maniac saying horsepower wars are in full effect and Dodge is the champ. Better believe it. And you know, the thing is that you can't argue with that. I mean, it's, you know, who else is putting out 800 horsepower cars that anybody can go in there? If you've got the funds or the credit to buy it, you can have one. And it's got a warranty. Let's see. Uncle Steve saying, I'm in upstate New York, got the wife a 2019 Jeep Grand Cherokee, WK2. Nice. The damn gas door freezes shut. That does suck. The mechanism that opens it actually freezes. Will spraying some WD-40 on the mechanism help? And it can help a little bit. A little bit of synthetic grease will actually help too. God, that sucks about that though. And Symphonic saying, I don't think it's the end of the line for big engines. If Ferrari is still making a 6.5 liter V12 NA engine pumping 800 horsepower, I have faith. I fucking love that 812. Yeah, no kidding. That thing is sweet, isn't it? Let's see. Symphonic saying, at Uncle Steve, I'm in upstate New York as well. You get that snow, man. I wouldn't even know what to do with snow. That would blow my mind. Fluttery white things coming out of the sky only means something is blown up, and those are ashes around here. Let's see. Slick S550. I almost bought an Omni GLH. Oh man, dude, where is my? I've actually got an original brochure for those cars. 175 horsepower, I think. I think you're right. Man, that thing was crazy. Would not go straight very well. I think it was like 10 grand. Man, I'll tell you something. If you guys have never driven the early hot hatch turbo cars, it's a completely different driving experience. They were ultra lightweight. They all had between 150 and 200 horsepower. And they were just absolutely a riot to drive. They were so much fun. A lot quicker than their quarter mile times would indicate. I mean, it's so hard to explain, but God, those things were so much fun to drive. Let's see. Sam saying, hey B, what's up? What's up, Sam? Love the videos. Thank you very much. I have a question on the rear for my 15 Charger RT57 road and track. Looking to swap my 307 open diff and swap it out to like a 373 LSD? Is it just a swap in and out? So that would be a 370 gear out of a manual Hellcat. Yes, it is. You're going to want to get the half shafts to go along with it. But yeah, I believe that is a direct swap, and that is the gear that I would recommend for that car. Let's see. Sam is saying also that he is hearing per the dealer I'd have to unlock the PCM and use a tuner to change the pinion factor for the 373, which would kill my unlimited lifetime warranty. They say I could go to a 309 LSD. You don't have to unlock the PCM to change the gear ratio, because you'd mainly be changing tire size. So I don't think you have to unlock the PCM for that. But, you know, a 309 LSD would be a good option for that. Let's see. But I would love to see 370s in that car. I think you would too. Let's see. Easy Rider, don't forget the 91 Sprint RT, the Hellcat Charger of the early 90s. That's right. I did forget about that one. Let's see. Uncle Steekford's telling Symphonics that he did get the snow. And the Speed Maniac saying 392 is the way to go. For the trucks, absolutely, because you're working with a lot taller tire. But for the cars, 392 can be a little bit much going down the freeway. But if that doesn't bother you, then I say go for it. I like the 370 though, because you can use a little bit more of the gear. Let's see. Jay Pump is saying, I remember the Dodge Daytona Turbo Z. That's a slow hot hatch. I remember, so that 2.2 liter, I remember there were guys working on that back in the day. My very first car was a Dodge 600 with the Turbo 2.2. And we used to do all kinds of crap to try to get more power out of those things. But at the time, we didn't really know any better. And I mean, we were going after everything with those cars. I mean, if it had a V8, we were trying to beat it, you know, and I don't know. I just have such fun memories of those cars growing up as a kid. Now, yeah, admittedly, no, they weren't blindingly fast, but you know, there's something to be said when that turbo would spool up and it'd plant you in the seat a little bit. And, you know, when you're a kid, you're going, oh, wow, that's so cool. And, you know, so, yeah, I definitely remember those cars fondly. Let's see. Sam saying, thank you, sir. You got it. Didn't think I'd have to mess with a PCM. Don't know why they said that. It's partially true, only for shift scheduling, but realistically, you should be good. You should be good to go with that. And again, it really depends on how aggressive you want to get with that car. You know, the 392s can get a little bit buzzy on the big end. Going through the gears, it can be, you know, you just don't really get the full feel of them because it goes and it's just constantly shifting, getting you up to speed. But if you've got oversized wheel and tire setup on your car, it might do you good to have the 392s if say you're running 22s or something like that. Let's see. Uncle Stigford and Symphonics are hanging out. I like to see that. Let's see. Speed Maniac said, I had a 5-speed in my GTA and was running 373 gear and regretted not getting the 411. Lower gears can change a car's attitude big time. Absolutely it can. 373 is a really good catch-all gear, but yeah, for those cars, 411s. Let's see. Uncle Sneakford saying, I love the hot hatches. I was a proud owner of a 2007 Mazda 3 for a number of years. Such a great car. The torque steer was fun. You know what? I'll tell you something. Everybody complains about the torque steer, but I loved it. I thought it made the car so much more, I don't know. It just felt like you were a part of that car more. You know, when things torque steering, you got to hang on to it. And you're grabbing gears and the thing's wanting to basically rip the steering wheel out of your hand. I think without that, it's just not as much fun. Vate is saying salutations to all. Salutations right back to you, Vate. Yeah, so it'd be kind of cool if we started seeing something like that, you know, maybe a departure not from the muscle car, but to a different genre. Bring back maybe some of the glory days of the hot hatch, or bring something a little bit different to the table than everybody's doing. I think that would make a big difference. I mean, right now Mopar's got the muscle car thing locked up with the 392 Durango, the 392 Grand Cherokee, the Trackhawk, the Demon, the Red Eye, the Hellcat, all the 392 variants. I mean, it's pretty cool, to say the least. And I think that I'll tell you something. To be honest with you, it surprises me that we have as much of what we have just in general. So there's at least that to consider. Uncle Steve for saying it gave it a soul. Damn right it did. That it was a handful of soul, that's for sure. Easy Rider said FCA CEO Mike Manley, electrification will be part of the formula that says what is American muscle in the future. What it isn't going to be is a V8 supercharged 700 horsepower engine. That's fine. If that's the case, so, make it 1,000 horsepower, gasoline and electric motor combination, redefine it, but set the bar unattainably high for others to follow you into the fray. That to me is how you get that job done. That bold statement doesn't come without a heavy price tag. And to be honest, if that were to be the case, then fine, that's great. Hybridization is a beautiful thing when it's done right. But again, if it's done right, it's a beautiful thing. I just don't want to see a situation come up where it's hybridization for the sake of looking good on paper, but it's a turd in practice. So, 700 horsepower engine, fine. Make it 1,000 and keep the 700 horsepower and give me 300 horsepower worth of electricity. Poser 2 saying, when would you change the rear differential fluid on the Hellcat? About every, the way I drive my car, about every 7,500 to 8,500 miles. Vate Ozaki is saying, I think he's talking about he's humming to the statement about the hybrids. Speed Maniac, how about the Shelby Daytona turbo 4-cylinder? Those cars can take a ton of boost. Yes, they can. That 2.2 liter is a lot more stout than a lot of people gave it credit for. And super light. Yes, they are. Let's see. Vate's saying his dream car has always been the Darth Vader car. I think it's way overpriced. It feels like a 97 Corvette with booster. Darth Vader car? Don't know what a Darth Vader car is. Thought he flew a TIE fighter. Anyway, no, so, getting into that though, what would still constitute muscle? Well, back in the day when the Grand National, when the T-Type were being released, it was, well, the V6 can't be muscle. All of a sudden it kind of defined it. It defined it? Man, it's getting late. It defined muscle at one point. So it can absolutely define muscle in terms of hybrid technology. A lot of guys are, doing really well with the Teslas, showing just how quick those cars can be in a quarter mile, especially how quick those cars can be in the eighth mile. I think you're going to see a lot more of that as, time is moving on. I think the big thing that you're going to see though is going to be a move to, better battery technology, more power from the electric motors. You're going to see, you're going to see that really start to take off and become more mainstream. Batteries are going to become more compact. Things are going to get lighter. And so the idea is that it's going to be more feasible. I think it would be amazing to have a viable hybrid American muscle car that could, it'd be a no excuses performance vehicle that just happened to be boosted by electricity. Let's see. GNX boy. Oh man, yeah, the Grand National GNX. Had an opportunity to buy one of those once, but it had been in a wreck. Let's see. Yeah, Uncle Stinkford saying, yeah, I kind of agree with this. To me, I think the statement about the hybrids does not mean the normal V8s are going away. He says they are a part of the formula. I agree with that. Hey, if it means it's a naturally aspirated V8 with, 450 horsepower and another 450 horsepower worth of electric motor, I'm all right with that. If electric motors are the new supercharger, I'll take it. Jay saying that a GNX hammered for 109 grand this weekend. I saw this would have been about a year, maybe 2 years ago. A buddy of mine had an original GNX come into his shop, and it looked like it had been sitting in a barn. Let's see. Gray's asking, what do you think about the BMW N54, aka the German 2J? I tell you something, I don't have a lot of experience with them, but I can tell you that they make plenty of power. Any of the German inlines, turbo inline sixes seem to be a lot stronger than what they're claimed to be. And that just kind of goes in line with every one of them that I've ever driven. They always seem to be a lot more punchy than they should be given their power rating. I think that, for the new Supra, I cannot wait for people to start getting their hands on them and seeing what they can really do with them. I mean, is 600 horsepower to the rear wheels the limit? 700, 800, 500? Either way, with a car that's that small, the thing is going to absolutely scream. So it's not a question of if, it's a question of when. And I cannot wait to see how that car evolves. That's going to be a real exciting car for me to keep a look at. Let's see. Oh, Sam's saying, nah, just sticking with the 20s and nothing crazy with the motor. He was asking about some gearing earlier. Basically, because of warranty. Once the warranty runs out, then it's going to be game on or moving up. Let's see. Vate's saying the Darth Vader car, I need to look that up, can do 150. Oh, that's nothing. Uses a tuned LS3 V8, send 526 power to the rear wheels. Yeah, I don't know, man. I need to look that up. I am not familiar with that. The N54 can push 750 wheel horsepower in the stock engine just to have to keep up the maintenance. I'll tell you something. I can only say that I cannot wait to see how that car evolves. I think it's going to be a very well-balanced car. I think it's going to, it's going to be kind of the darling moving forward, I think, for Toyota. And, I gotta say, I mean, I know it's a small car. I know it's an import. I know it's a conglomeration, but man, I am just so stuck on stupid with that little thing. And, it kind of reminds me of, cars that, growing up, that's what we had. We had turbo 4-cylinders, turbo 6-cylinders. And, I don't know. I just think it's sweet that we've got that to look forward to. But, well, guys, we are coming up on 2 hours. I'm going to have to bail here. I got to wake up with the Amish tomorrow morning. So I hope everybody has a fantastic night. Michael Smith saying, I mean, you can get a 335i for 10 grand and a single turbo kit is like 6 grand. Yeah, definitely. 335i was my first taste of that engine. And I know they make some good power and they drive great. Let's see. Vate's asking if it's on a Corvette chassis. Maybe. It's got an LS3. Vate's saying it was nice to meet you. Thank you very much. Hope to see you again soon. Let's see. James is asking, do you have any experience with Eurocars, Golf GTI, Golf R, and Audi S4? Not a whole lot, but I do have some friends that do, and have seen that Golf R and the GTI. absolutely embarrassed some muscle cars with some stuff that they've done to it. Just the tune alone, those Volkswagens can pick up quite a bit. And then Easy Rider saying LaFerrari has a 963 horsepower, uses electric motor, which provides boost to the V12. I like it, and hope they follow that. Hope they follow that diagram, so to speak, and that plan if they decide to kill V8s. But fellas, I got a split. Thank y'all so very much for hanging out with me on this Tuesday evening, and look forward to seeing you guys on the next one. I will do my best this time as a participant in the track day to be able to get you guys some, just to get you guys some updates. And obviously, as I'm getting passes down the drag strip, I'll be posting those to Instagram. So check that out. BA Mason 721 on Instagram, I think is where that's at. So at any rate, Speed Maniacs, peace to my ball-headed brother, my friend. Peace to you. Hope to see you at the track soon. Right back at you, brother. And Vortex saying good show, by the way. Thank you very much. That is a wrap on this one, folks. Jay Palmer's got the arm flex, got the I love it. Thank you. And that's a wrap on this one, folks. Y'all have a great one. Adios.